back to my channel. I'm Rachel, the owner and creator here at the Eclectic Cottage in Spokane, Washington. Happy Sunday, everyone. I hope you've had a fantastic week. You might have noticed that I missed getting a video out on Thursday. It's been a little bit crazy around here this week. I had a small event yesterday. It was my spring reset event, which meant that I needed to rearrange a bunch of my displays and get Easter put out and clean and get everything ready, as you can imagine. So it meant not a lot of time to spend in the kitchen creating. So I did manage to eke out a little bit of time. So I got a couple of very simple projects done for you guys for today. I hope you guys like them. I think they turned out really cute, even though they are really simple. And without further ado, let's get to today's video. For my first project, I decided to make over these two little rabbits that I picked up recently at the Goodwill. They were pretty dingy and kind of beat up. One had a little chunk out of its ear. So I decided to start with some paint, and I am going in with a couple of coats of DIY's layered chocolate, which is this beautiful, rich chocolatey brown. And I'm using a brush that has a little bit of a point to it to try and work that paint down into all of the little texture that these rabbits have. Now, since these little rabbits were so textured, I did end up having to go over them with a second coat of paint. I got really good coverage out of the first coat, but you can see the little white flecks poking through here and there on these guys where I hadn't quite worked the paint down into all of the little nooks and crannies the first go around. Once I finally had all of the white covered up on the top parts of the bunnies, I went ahead and put a couple coats of paint on the bottoms of each one as well. Once my layered chocolate paint was completely dry, it was time to work on bringing out some of that beautiful detail and texture in these little rabbits. I had considered using a colored wax, maybe white wax, over the layered chocolate paint, but in the end, I decided to go ahead and dry brush these instead. So I'm using faded burlap, and this is just a little cheap, chintzy chip brush, and I am barely dipping the tips of the bristles into my faded burlap paint, and then I'm wiping almost all of that paint back onto a shop towel, and then I am just brushing lightly over all of that texture and detail in these rabbits, just leaving a little bit of that faded burlap behind. The last step for these little bunnies is to seal my paint. And for these, I decided to go with a liquid sealer rather than wax. And I am using DIY's clear liquid patina. Now, liquid patina looks a little scary when you first brush it on because it's kind of filmy, almost white in color, but it dries crystal clear. And the thing I love is that it's not only a pretty darn durable sealer, it's also relatively matte. It has a very low sheen, and I tend to like more of a matte finish on my projects. as before, once the bodies of my little rabbits were dry, I did flip them over and put a good coat of that liquid patina over the bottoms as well. Once that was dry, my little rabbits are complete. I love the way they turned out. They will be a perfect addition to my Easter display. I picked up this little galvanized flower bucket around the same time I found the bunnies. And even though I don't have anything against galvanized metal, I decided that since this was a pretty small little generic flower bucket, I would do something different with it. So I'm starting with a coat of Rustoleum 2X spray in the color Espresso. Now, I'd already decided that I wanted to try and get a crackle finish on this little flower bucket. So I am going over my spray paint with 4 coats of Sweet Pickins milk paint in the color Creamy. I mixed it up relatively thin. You can see it's pretty see-through here on the first coat. And after each coat, I am hitting it with a little bit of heat from my hair dryer. So I'm just painting it on and then going over the paint with my hair dryer and then putting another coat of paint over the top. Now, I found when I do this technique, I get the best results when I paint over my spray paint while it's still just a little bit on the tacky side. It helps ensure that I get really good crackle. And I did end up going over this little flower bucket with 4 coats of paint, just using my hair dryer in between each coat. And once my paint was completely dry, I took some 220 grit sandpaper and just sanded everything smooth and did a little bit of distressing along the rim and the details in this piece. Once I was done sanding, I took a damp shop towel and wiped everything down really well. I knew I wanted to put a transfer on this bucket, so I didn't want any sanding dust left behind. For my transfer, I decided to use up one of the scraps that I have laying around. So I grabbed this beautiful bouquet of lavender from the transfer set called Lavender Bunch. I've had this laying in my drawer forever, you guys, and it fit perfectly on this little bucket. So I placed it down and just began applying it as usual. I am rubbing down very well with that transfer stick while I carefully peel back that piece of vellum until I have it completely removed. And if I do end up pulling up a little bit of the transfer, I just lay my vellum right back down, re-rub that spot until that bit of transfer is applied. Once the transfer was applied, I went over it with that piece of vellum, just rubbing it really well down into the bucket to make sure I didn't have any air bubbles or wrinkles in my transfer. Once that was done, it is time to seal my paint, and I'm starting here with a coat of DIY's clear wax. Just applying that on and then wiping back the excess with a dry shop towel. Then I did go over it with a coat of DIY's dark wax. This really helps enhance the crackle. The dark wax just sinks right down into all of those cracks and really makes them stand out well. And again, I am just applying that dark wax with a little brush and then wiping back the excess with a dry shop towel. I did add a little bit of mineral spirits to my dark wax to thin it out a touch. I find that this makes the dark wax a little less overwhelming over the paint and a little easier to wipe back. And once I'm finished with this step, my little flower bucket is complete. It was such a simple makeover, but I really love the way this came out, and I hope you guys like it too. Thursday, you guys. I hope you liked my simple little makeovers, and I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, please remember to give it a thumbs up. I so appreciate that. And if you haven't already, I would love it if you would subscribe to my channel and then just hit the little notification bell so you don't miss anything. And then don't forget to drop a comment below and let me know what you thought of my projects for today. Just a quick reminder, I do carry a full line of DIY paint and products here in my shop, and that includes DIY paint and products, which are completely restocked, you guys, so I'm happy to have that done. I also carry Sweet Pickins milk paint and products, which I did get the sale price for Cheshire into my system, and that is 35% off through the end of March. It's a beautiful green. And of course I carry some Recycled Treasures decoupage papers, as well as Redesign with Prima products. And while we're on the topic of Redesign with Prima, I just wanted to show you guys something really quick. For the month of March, anyone who orders $39 or more of just Redesign with Prima product, it can't be a combination of products, it has to be a total of $39 in Redesign, gets a free tube transfer. This is one of the value of $29.95 or $29.99, and it's this beautiful one called Blossom Botanica. It's got all these beautiful pink, very springy florals until my supply runs out. So anyone who orders, again, $39 worth of Redesign with Prima products over the next month will get one of these until I run out of stock. So it will just be in your box. So look forward to that. Everything is available on my website, and that's www.theeclecticcottagespokane.com, so you can check it all out there. And then let's see, for Thursday's video, I am hoping to get back into my kitchen a little more now that the cottage is pretty much taken care of, and get some things done in there. I have that huge shelving unit that's still sitting on my table. I really need to get that done so I can get it out of there. That's going to actually go back here behind me. So that'll be a whole other issue. But I am trying to get a few more Eastery things done before Easter actually gets here too. So we'll see what I come up with. Anyway, I hope you guys can join me back here on Thursday for that. Until then, have a fantastic rest of your weekend, the very little that might be left of it. And I hope you have a fantastic beginning of your week. Thank you so much for being here, and I will see you back here on Thursday. Bye.